I don't know about you guys, but I get so exhausted of hearing people complain and complain and complain about America, and yet they never leave. You know, like, oh, America is so racist. Okay, then leave. Like, go somewhere else. Go somewhere else that you think you'll be able to achieve this non-racist utopia that you've concocted in your mind. Go there. And it's always funny, the vast majority of people that love to get on their soapbox and complain about all of the grievances that comes with America, they never have an exit strategy. They never leave. Until I saw these two videos, and I have to applaud them. These two women, these two black ladies, put their money where their mouth was and left the country for a better life. And you know, sometimes you just have to let people make their mistakes so they can figure it out on their own. You know, there's no point in you wasting your breath to try to convey something to someone when they've already made up their mind. Okay. And the reality is the vast majority of Black Americans have been programmed to hate America. They've been programmed to hate the free market, to hate America, the Constitution, literally anything that makes this country what it is. They've been programmed to hate it. It's literally a communist dream where you can get a population of people to hate the country that they live in. It's like you hit a gold mine there. But I'm getting a little bit too far ahead of myself. Let's talk about these two ladies. All right. So the first lady, speaking about communism, this first woman, she I guess she was, from my understanding, she was born in Russia and then moved to the United States. And then after an incident, after the George Floyd mostly peaceful yet fiery protests of 2020, I guess she had asked police for help, and they treated her like a criminal. And so that was her reasoning to get the hell out of the States. And so she moved to Moscow, Russia. Long story short, she got her ass whooped. Okay? Yeah. So she was trying to escape racism, and then she ended up in a seemingly racist situation. And I say seemingly racist because if someone calls you a mean name or they hit you, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily racist. It just means that they're an asshole and they want to cause you harm. This is something that every person in the world will experience. And I don't see the benefit of trivializing something and attacking on this racist label when we all know that everyone is going to deal with the same thing. And from my understanding of what this woman was talking about as to why she moved from America in the first place, it sounded like a minor inconvenience. Oftentimes I hear people talk about how, oh, I've been stopped by the cops and they thought I was a criminal and they put me in handcuffs and they detained me. That's called an inconvenience. That's not racism by default. Some people make mistakes. Some people are just malicious. And if that's the case, take it to the courts, because I guarantee you, when you get there in front of that judge, you're going to end up a millionaire, okay? So if there is actually any insidious wrongdoing, just comply, be cool. Your life is not worth losing it over this inconvenience, okay? So even if, you know, because it's always a common thing about, like, it's this perpetual fear mongering of, because you're Black in America, you have to fear for your life, you have to fear the police. Well, this woman literally moved to a different country and got her ass whooped. And I hate that that happened. I hate it. I really do. But maybe this will give her some perspective that mean words are not the equivalent to actually getting assaulted. That a minor inconvenience in being perceived to be a criminal and being detained as such is not the same as getting your ass whooped, okay? I have to keep emphasizing this because she was also with her child at the time. Her kid actually got assaulted, which, again, is terrible. But we're talking about two different ways of life. I'm going to pray for this woman. I'm going to pray for her kid. I heard through the grapevine they might be coming back to the United States. I hope they do. Yeah, because the way that we do things here is not the way that they do things out there. And sometimes people have to learn the hard way that the grass is not always greener on the other side. Now, let's talk about this other woman who moved to the motherland. She moved to Africa. I can't remember exactly what part of Africa, but she was like, I am going with my ancestors to Africa. And lo and behold, she's coming back.
But y'all, I'd rather go back to America and deal with the racism in America before I sit here in Africa and deal with the bullshit bribery, the bullshit fraud, the bullshit scams, the bullshit too expensive, the bullshit not having no snacks, the bullshit not having no food, the bullshit electricity, the bullshit hot water, the bullshit what's that shit called that be coming down? The bullshit animals, it's scorpions outside the house, it's big ass spiders, it's big ass lizards, colorful lizards you ain't never seen before, all in the fucking room with you, sleeping with you, all the bullshit people trying to scam you when you go outside thinking you rich, so they trying to get more money off of you. I'm really trying to wrap my head around this shit. I'm really trying to wrap my head around how are Americans coming to Africa and being happy. Please comment down below, because for me, I'm ready to go.
We Americans are so privileged. You want to talk about privilege? My friends, you are so privileged to be living in this country. And I find it so ironic because where this woman moved to, Africa, there are a lot of people who were actually born in Africa that don't mess with Black Americans for this exact reason. Because Black Americans, and again, I'm going to give them a little bit of grace, Black Americans have been programmed to hate America. They've been programmed with this, I don't even know how to say this, ideological silver spoon in their mouth, that they're always constantly ingesting victimhood, and they're blind to all the blessings around them. They totally don't even realize that there are people in other parts of the world that don't have what they have. So when they migrate to this country, they work their ass off. And statistically speaking, this actually shows. This actually shows. So when you got like Black Americans complaining about systemic racism and not being able to build generational wealth and whatnot, why is it that all of these immigrants that immigrated here to America are doing better off than we are? Why is it? Is it something in the water, or is it something in our mind? And I think it's the latter. We've been programmed to think that all of the problems we have going on in society and in our lives are the result of white supremacy, racism, systemic racism, institutionalized race, all the racisms, instead of, what have I done? Maybe I have contributed to this problem, you know? I find that very interesting. But this is, and this part of the conversation, I'm gonna get called, an Uncle Tom, a coon, all the catchphrases. They have the same catchphrases. It's almost as if they went to the same school of thought. But guys, this is the reality of the world, right? Is that on the one hand, you have a group of people who are being conditioned to think that they have to constantly pursue this utopian vision where there's no racism, and then once you get rid of racism, all of your problems are just going to melt away. And I hate to be that person to snap you back into the reality, but racism is never going away. What you're asking for is the conversion of hearts. And I'm talking about real racism, okay? Not like, he looked at me weird, so that's racist. No, I'm talking about like real racism where you can say, okay, that person does not like me literally because of my skin color, because he just said it, okay? Racism isn't going away. And so these people, these Black Americans, have been taught from a Marxist worldview that they can convert people's hearts by agitating society. And they do this political agitation. They did it all throughout 2020. They do it with the DEI, the CRT, and they think that if they just keep pushing and fighting and marching and shouting, eventually racism is going to go away. And isn't it interesting that since the civil rights movement, this so-called racist boogeyman that we are still dealing with hasn't actually gone away? At what point do we stop and say, hey, are we making any progress towards our goal? And in fact, if you were to look at how Black Americans were favoring 100 years after chattel slavery ended, they were doing way better before the civil rights movement. In fact, the civil rights movement actually caused a lot of the problems that you see now because it reinstated sort of this psychological slavery. You know, the chains are gone, but now you have this psychological bondage where you think that you're in this constant power struggle and it's all in your head. By the way, did you know that Rosa Parks, you know, the woman that sat in the front of the bus because she refused to go to the back of the bus? Did you know that during the time that she was sitting on that bus, that iconic bus that made her into this civil rights messiah, did you know that she could have used one of the black-owned bus lines that were available that could have gotten her to her destination? Did you know that? I bring this up because we have mirrored something that Rosa Parks did. We're creating agitation, unnecessary agitation, to fight against something that isn't actually a problem. We are fighting battles that we don't actually need to fight. And I know some people that, again, they're going to say what they want to say, but all I would ask you is to consider the fruits of your labor. There's this passage in the Bible that talks about like how a bad tree doesn't produce good fruit and how a good tree doesn't produce bad fruit. And so if we're listening to the same people and we're doing the same things over and over, at what point can we look at the fruits of our labor and say, this isn't working? Just something to think about. All right. Well, anyways, guys, yeah, again, that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, do me a favor, hit the like and subscribe button and let me know in the comment section below. Is America a racist country? And how do we get rid of said racism? Is it more political agitation? Is it the conversion of hearts through policy? Or is it the conversion of hearts through something bigger? All right, that's going to be it for today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.